Okay, so this should be fun. I rode this trail just about a year ago on my Sherco 300 SEF, and then I rode it again here shortly ago, and I'll start the clips right now, right on top of each other. And I've gone through and I've watched this one time, and there were on both runs up this kind of summit thing, I made mistakes. But what's abundantly clear here is I had so much better traction and better drive on the Sherco up on the top through this initial first section. I just did that way better, and I do think that this comes into play. Like, four strokes get traction, they get crazy traction, and so that Sherco did amazing down at the bottom of this thing. And I will be playing catch up on the KTM two stroke for the first half of this thing, and you can see it. I've just got better pace on the Sherco, and I was riding better that day. And the Sherco is an amazing bike, and those four strokes get good traction. You can just see my pace is better at the bottom of the hill. Little spoiler alert though, my pace will actually increase, or at least I will get my pace better and better on the two stroke as I go. And I think part of that is just because they don't wear me out quite as much, whereas the Sherco does wear me out. I kind of started out kind of like a bullet out of a gun on the Sherco four stroke, but towards the middle of this, where it gets nasty, that's where I'm going to pick up and make up the ground on the KTM. Now, on both of them, I had to stop. On the KTM, on the two-stroke on the bottom, I had to stop because of some hikers, and on the Sherco, I stopped because I actually dumped the bike. I definitely then didn't take the same routes on both bikes. I mean, this was a year apart, and there's like a couple of different routes that you can take towards the middle part of it. And I cheated just a little bit on the two-stroke. I didn't even realize that I did it until I'd already done it. And I think it's probably about 5 seconds faster the way I went on the KTM. But then again, I was stopped for longer on the KTM, and I end up, beating my time by about 30 or so seconds on the two-stroke anyway. So apples and apples, I rode the bottom section of this trail better on the Sherco a year ago on the four-stroke, and then I rode the top section better on the KTM. Both runs, I had a couple things that I was really frustrated with myself on. So right here you can see on the KTM two-stroke, this is where I meet the hikers. So here they are, and I'm going to stop and talk to them so that I'm not just going blasting by them. I say, hey, is everything okay? They're like, yeah. Is it just the three of you? And they say, well, there's 6 of us. So I'm sitting here for 10 seconds at least, not moving, and then I got to get going again on this section of trail. Now you'll notice that I ended up stalling out right there on the Sherco, so that slowed me down. But I'm way slow through this section on the KTM two-stroke, and yeah, I didn't know exactly. I was frustrated at this point. From this point on, I was frustrated on the two-stroke because I thought my time's going to be down. But as you can see, I just went down, lost the front wheel on the Sherco right there. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 10 seconds, and I'm still trying to catch it on the KTM two-stroke. I'm still not to where I dumped it. I think I dumped the bike on the KTM. I'm there about now where I dumped it. So now I've caught up a bunch of ground, and I'm actually going to come dead even. This is the spot where I actually make up time on the KTM two-stroke. Even though I don't go through here this section as cleanly as I like. Look, on the four-stroke, I'm struggling with my pace, and I'm going to catch up right here. Now I'm even. Both bikes are even on both runs a year apart, and I'm going to make this switchback turn right here. Watch how close we are. We're going to be so close. I'm making the turn right there. On both bikes, I make the turn. And then even though on this one, on the two-stroke, I don't get the kind of drive that I want to go up this little nasty section, I end up kind of pulling ahead. So I'm ahead on the two-stroke, and I kind of make it crappy through this section. I was not happy at all with my run through it on the two-stroke, but I'd actually made up time to my time a year ago on the four-stroke. So that was fun to come back and see. I just learned that right now. This was another section that you got to kind of get up on the bike, and I was back on the bike, and I was in second gear, and I didn't make it as cleanly as I wanted. So now I've pulled ahead a little bit on the Sherco. On the four-stroke, I'm just a touch ahead at this point, maybe a second. And then this is where I take two different line choices. I didn't even realize that I did. On the Sherco, I'm going to fade left and go around the hill. On the KTM, I'm going to fade right and go up the hill. It has to be a little bit faster, maybe 5 seconds faster to go right around the hill, I think, because it's just a shorter distance. I'm going to make it to the hill ahead on the two-stroke, and then I just keep pulling away on the two-stroke. So now, right now, I'm kind of at the top of the hill on the two-stroke right now, and this is where the trails are going to come together. So on the Sherco, I'm at the top of the hill right at now, and so there the trails come together. So maybe 5 seconds or so, maybe 8 seconds behind on the Sherco. But from here on out, I will just continue to pull away on the two-stroke. Even though that little section I got hung up a little bit, I didn't make it through quite as clean as I wanted. I mean, you're up at over 9,000. You're at 9,500, 9,700 feet right here, and my heart rate is going out of my chest. I'm in zone, at least zone 4, if not zone 5 heart rate. I'm probably, I actually did the heart rate on this, but I can't remember, it's been a while since I looked at it, but I'm in zone 5. Like, you're cranking here, like you're just going, you're not getting the oxygen that you need, and it's a brutal little sprint right here. So, and of course there's a ton of you guys that could whoop me up this hill. I don't even care. What I care about is just kind of measuring myself against myself. And I'm going to end up faster by 30 or so seconds, maybe 35, 40 seconds on the KTM. And it all happens in the second half of this little summit, which is kind of what I worked towards. I mean, I worked out this morning, and I'm just trying to be a little bit better version of myself than I was yesterday. And that's what I measure myself against. I understand there's people that could go up this 2 minutes faster than me. You know, I don't really care about that. The other thing that was interesting is this, when I did it in, I guess on the Sherco, I think it was probably September, whereas this ride here on the KTM was early July or late June. I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to go back and look at the time code. I have the wrong time codes up here while I'm editing this. But as you can see, you know, I'm a little bit behind on the Sherco, and I'm falling back. Here's a little nasty that nasty wall hit that you have to do on the Sherco. I've already done it on the KTM. That's a section that's getting nastier and nastier. That wall hit 4 or 5 years ago, it didn't seem like it was as undercut. Now it's more and more undercut. But here is where I just, you know, kind of start making hay. And even though I was frustrated on the KTM below, or the bigger one, you know, the more recent one on the two-stroke, I was frustrated with how a lot of the things went. I didn't give up, and I start pushing harder and harder and harder, and I can start to smell the summit now. I've done this trail, I don't know, 5, 6 times or something, maybe 7 times, and so I know I can smell the summit. And so at this point, you're going, and your heart is beating out of your chest, and you're in, at least I'm in zone 5 heart rate on this thing, and I'm just going, okay, this is the final push. So on the KTM, I know that this side hill is the last thing. You've got about a half mile to go ish, I don't know, and you're just cranking on it. And I'm going to round that corner there on the Sherco as well. And at this point on the KTM, I'm just up in second gear. I see another hiker. She's way up off the trail, so I'm like, I've just got to go. I don't want to stop on this section of the trail. I knew she was way off the trail, so I didn't stop to talk to her. Those other guys, they were on the trail, and I'm like, I got to stop for them because I can't just rip by them when they're down on the trail like that. But this is the final push, and so I'm just cranking, pushing. And I thought when I got to the top, I thought that I was slower on the KTM. I'm going to let you listen to what I have to say here.
Come on, Kyle. Done. Yes. Still standing. Second gear. Stop. Okay. We made it. Oh yeah. 2 things. Oh yes. I didn't see anybody for an hour and a half. And then I get on the nastiest section of the trail. And then it's just people. Holy crap. So that sucked. And then there's that nastiest section down there. Oh my goodness, I sucked that up. Like, I knew there was a high line twice you need to go on. I was off balance, missed the first high line. I'm like, okay, big deal. And then I'm trying to cross over and get the second high line. I'm in frickin' second gear, I think. Needed to be in first. Ugh. That was not clean, not good. I mean, I did that way better on the Sherco last year. Came up that on the Sherco 300 SEF. Anyway, frustrating, but that's how we go.